This is Adam King from Aliens Don't Ring Doorbells, and you're listening to Madness to Creation.
Go ahead, say it.
Welcome to the Madness to Creation podcast. This is Maddie. How are you? Hopefully you're having a good weekend. Today we are bringing you an interview with two members of WITHERFALL, Joseph Michael and Jake Dreyer. And this gets into a very interesting conversation as they talk about music they grew up with. They talk about how they still produce music during the global COVID-19 pandemic, and their recent release entitled Curse of Autumn. And it includes the cinematic video for As I Lie Awake. And WITHERFALL is known for their ridiculous artwork on their music, as well as their dark melodic metal sounds. And just kind of give you a couple updates on Madness to Creation. We are currently shopping for a sponsorship. If you'd like to sponsor us, please email us at madnesstocreation@gmail.com. And also follow Mark Dean on Facebook at Mark Dean Media Journalist. Put a period in between the four words there, Mark Dean Media Journalist. And we are also going to be producing 1 Minute of Madness reviews on TikTok. And that's where you're going to see a majority of my album reviews. Follow us on TikTok at Madness to Creation. And without further delay, here's Mark Dean's conversation with Joseph and Jake of WITHERFALL. Take it away, Mark.
Yeah. Avoiding the plague, recording records. We were able to, we finished our record Curse of Autumn during this time, which was a little difficult, to do, obviously. So that was the main thing, but we were able to get it done.
How were you able to do it? Was it recorded? Did you swap files? Was it already done before all this started, or how was it done?
No, we don't swap files. We recorded it in 4 if you count some of the keyboard stuff. But we did the drums in LA. We did all the guitars, bass, and vocals up in Indiana, and then we mixed and mastered it down in Florida at Morris Sound.
Okay, I wonder if you could take me through the album. Basically pick out a couple of tracks and tell me how they came to be created.
Cool.
Do you want to pick some?
Yeah, well, I guess we should start with Last Scar, which was our first single that we did with it. That was one of the first ones that we had written for it. At that time, of course, it's a very heavy and aggressive type song, and that's kind of what we were feeling at that moment. So it also kind of dictated a little bit of what the album cover, the color scheme would be, which is more of that reddish hue. But basically, I had gotten off tour, and Jackson had sent me out some new guitars, and so I basically just picked up one of the guitars I had and came up with that riff and then put it down in a voice memo and sent it over to Joseph, and he liked it, and we started working on it, back in LA whenever I got off the road. So that's one of those songs.
What about yourself? Do you want to pick one?
Yeah, I mean, the River,
yeah.
That song, it's a very personal song. It's about my father, where we spread his ashes. Actually, I wasn't able to be there when they spread his ashes back in 2002. It was right after 9/11, and I didn't have an ID. They wouldn't let me on the plane. So there's a fishing spot up in New York, and that's what the song is about. It's very personal. The record's very personal compared to the last 2 records.
How do you cope in terms of time? Because you've obviously you've got other bands, other projects going on. I mean, is it difficult to adopt the mindset going from one band to another? Do you have to write differently or approach it differently each time?
We just, with WITHERFALL, we just exactly do what we want to do. That's kind of how we came up with the band in the first place. Was Joseph and I were playing in a band, and we didn't want to have any sort of boundaries when it came to songwriting. So every record that we do, it's very organic with Joseph and I. We'll sit in basically in a room together with some wine, acoustic guitar, pen and paper, and just write. And so there's really no thought process to it at all.
You mentioned that earlier about the color of the album. That seems to be an ongoing thing with you guys, that you have a different color connecting to a theme on each album release. How does that work?
Yeah.
What's the thought process behind it?
The thing is that they're hand painted pieces of art. So, Christian Walling has that monochromatic thing going on with a lot of his artwork. I mean, some of the stuff isn't like that. I think Wild Honey had a bunch of different colors on it, the TMR record. But most of his modern stuff is very monochromatic. And, we're not going to argue with him.
Yeah.
We basically, when we're ready to start talking to Christian, we have some demos that kind of give him the vibe of the music and the lyrics, and we just send it over and kind of tell him what the theme is. And we always have a dark female character on our album covers as well. We've both been plagued by dark females our entire lives. But yeah, I mean, we're a very visual band. We really like bands like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and Queen, and everything has a connection to the music.
And
Go on.
I think Christian's one of those guys too. It's one of, because Joseph and I are very, we like to have the restraints when it comes to a lot of the creativity. But Christian's such you could call him a legend, I guess. In that, again, this is the fourth one in his WITHERFALL series, and we pretty much are so confident with him that when we're gonna open up what he did for us for our album cover, we don't really have too much trepidation going into that anxiety, because he's just amazing. He's knocked it out of the park for every release.
Obviously, you guys have had touring plans disrupted to promote the album. How have you been killing the downtime now that you're not able to play live? I mean, you guys, obviously, you're professional musicians. You spent most of your lives on the road. I mean, and now you've got all this extra time at home. How do you fill that void?
We don't have. There's no downtime for us. We're always writing.
Yeah, I mean, or perfecting the craft. Yeah.
I mean, I'm in my office/studio every day, 16 hours a day, no matter what. And then we're actually getting together in a couple of days to work on the next record. So there's no downtime for us. This isn't like a part-time hobby for us. We don't do anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also our favorite part of the whole being a musician thing is the writing. It's creating new music. So, it's fun to go out and share it with the fans and see new places and, eat different food, see different scenery. But the main reward is when those new compositions come to life.
Yeah, I agree.
So you said you've already got the next album sort of together. What sort of release date do you have? Do you have any sort of expectation on the date for that one, or are you just going to wait and see how things go?
Oh, no, we're in the very beginning stages of that. This will be our first writing session for that, and we usually have quite a bit, because with the pandemic now, it's we're on opposite sides of everyone's kind of been dispersed a little bit, so it's not like we can just pop over and have a weekend of debauchery and songwriting. It has to be planned. So there's no release, but we try to do a release every year. We would have had Curse of Autumn come out in November. That was the plan, but
you had a date for November.
Yeah, and it was all set, but at that time we had a tour that was going on around this time actually, but it had gotten canceled. So, but we were setting it off for that point. So we would have had one. That was kind of our thing. We wanted to be like the bands from the '70s that had some bands would have 2 albums released every year. At least making them one.
We feel like that. We're more closer to that pace than most modern bands that release a record every 4 years.
Yeah. Just taking you both back, what was the first music that you recall hearing growing up?
Wow. The first band that I really loved was Kiss as a kid, because of like, I think just like the whole superhero aspect to it. I love Gene. I'm a guitar player, but I love Gene. I still love Gene. I love Kiss now, but Kiss was like the one band I fell in love with as a kid. But AC/DC, Hell's Bells was what made me want to play guitar. That intro, the kind of arpeggiated A minor thing that Malcolm Young does. That was like, I got to do that.
What about yourself?
My dad used to hold me hostage in his car when we'd go on our weekend fishing. I used to hear all sorts of crazy music like Alabama, Neil Diamond, every country music or pop, singer-songwriter that existed in the 80s. My first concert was Loretta Lynn, but I don't remember it because I wasn't even 2 years old. But we have a photo of Loretta Lynn like kissing me on the cheek, but I don't remember that at all. First concert I remember is Kenny Rogers during the Gambler tour with Lee Greenwood opening. And Kenny Rogers was like a total rock star. Like, even though he looked the way he did, like he would come down from the ceiling on this tiny little pedestal and descend all the way and then start the Gambler. First music that made me want to play an instrument, though, probably going to be Aerosmith. I wanted to sing. I didn't really get into guitar until I started getting into Guns N' Roses. And I think Jake and I share that bond.
Yeah.
What about then the first song that you ever performed live? Can you remember that?
Yeah.
My first was a wedding. It was the director of the local theater and his illegitimate husband, because you couldn't get married back in those days. But we were hired as an acoustic band, and the first song we played was Wild World, the Mr. Big version.
Mine was another AC/DC song. I don't even know if you could call it a song, because I don't even think we made it all the way through. But it was at a school dance when I was like 11, and I was a Halloween dance, and I was dressed up as Angus Young, and yeah, we played an instrumental version of Back in Black, minus the right chord progression in the bridge. So it was a fucking disaster. Yeah, that was the first one played in front of people, and my classmates clapped, and that was the end of it. My ego hasn't gone down since.
What about, in terms of your own instrument, what would be the best album that would represent you? Best guitar album, best vocal album from your own collection?
From us personally, or from our...
from your own...
Or just like
other bands, yeah.
Other bands. Wow, it's tough. It's tough for me because I love so many different types of players, I mean, if we're just going in like the heavy metal aspect, for the type of guitar playing I love, Rising Force by Yngwie, that's just balls to the fucking wall. The neoclassical playing of that style, and Yngwie had so much fire back then. He was the perfect amount of cocaine.
Leg kick.
Yeah. For me, Rising Force. If you're a lead guitar playing fan, you can't get into that. Maybe lead guitar isn't your thing.
What about yourself? What represents the best album to you?
For vocalists,
yeah,
that's a tough. Like Jake said, I love a lot of different styles. I would say, though, the record that once I was able to perform 99% of it myself, I actually considered myself a singer, an accomplished singer. It's gotta be Slave to the Grind. Like the not just the high notes, but like the depth of tone and the variety of sounds like that Sebastian Bach is displaying on that. Yeah, not a lot of singers can even come close to what he did on that record.
None of the early Sanctuary albums then get a mention in there, no?
No, not at the top. I mean, I love World Dane. I love what he did on those records. But I mean, it was almost like World was a completely different singer every record. Really strange. I mean, it couldn't have been the LSD.
Difficult shoes, though, to step into, I would imagine.
Fun, yeah. Difficult, of course. I mean, anything worth doing is going to be difficult. But a lot of fun. Like especially the tour, the fans are really excited to hear those old songs live.
Yeah.
And we were able to do last year. We did all of Refuge Denied, like in its entirety. That was a lot of fun to do.
Just the final.
Like, I think cardio for the day.
Just the final one then. If the roles were reversed, who would you like to interview? Maybe not even a musician. Somebody that's inspired you, maybe a role model, if you were asking the questions.
Live or dead?
Either.
So dead.
God, Anthony Bourdain for me, for sure. I would, I'd love to have dinner and drinks with that guy.
End up having both dinner and
yeah.
I mean, I gotta go. I got really close to meeting this guy. He's my favorite author. I actually bought a bottle of scotch for him. He was supposed to speak at this library, and then he got cancer. It's got to be Christopher Hitchens. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
What plans do you guys got then? As much as we can make plans these days, have you got anything penciled in to promote the album? I'm thinking maybe something online.
No, none of the streaming stuff. We do have a tour set for. I get it screwed up if it's October. I think it's October.
Yeah.
November of 2021 with Evergrey. And so, but that's never know, man.
Sure.
It's penciled in.
Bunch of videos.
Yeah. That's one of the ways we've been trying to promote is by doing a video for every song.
Right. Yeah.
So we have quite a bit more videos coming out. It's a tough one right now because it's not like these are very uncharted waters,
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for chatting. Glad we finally got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Thank you. Bye.
All right,
Take care, man.
And cheers.